clapping. I don't ask you to clap in the next 5 minutes, of course. Welcome also from my side. My name is Philip. I'm heading Custify. I'm the founder and CEO. And in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you what we are doing. Who can tell me what that is? And it's not our revenue yet. It's actually the number of software as a service companies that appear on the market. And actually it's already outdated, so it reaches to the year 2018. Who can tell what that is? Now, believe it or not, all those companies that you saw before that appear on the market, once they start and building a product market fit and reaching out and acquiring customers, they start losing them. So they start losing their customers, and that's called churn. And for every business that has a subscription-based model, that's a very bad thing because it hurts your monthly revenue, and not just that, it actually influences you over time. So what you see here is actually a graph that tells you when, let's assume you keep the same sign-up rate for your company, and you have a subscription-based business, and you have no churn whatsoever, or you have a really high churn of 5%, which actually is not even that high. There are companies that have a higher churn than that. Versus if you achieve negative churn. And what does negative churn mean? Negative churn means that you actually are able to upsell your users into selling more, buying more from you, like more products, more services. Now, obviously, all those companies that you saw before, they actually want to go there. So they want to achieve negative churn. So how can they do that? Well, they go into their systems, analytics and CRMs and usage data and whatever, and they try to put together a picture about their customers. So what do their customers actually do every day? How do they behave? When do they log in? Why don't they do downloading? Why is the new feature not used? And once they figure that out for a specific customer, they actually go and talk to that customer. They try to prevent it, they try to educate them, they send them tutorials. Depends on the business model, they send them automated emails, or they actually reach out to them on the phone, book a webinar or something like that. Now, while this works, the problem is that you need a lot of time to spend in those modules and figure out what's actually happening. So most of the time is actually spent there, while less of the time is actually spent where it should be spent with the customer. And that's where Custify comes in. So Custify is a system that collects data from all the business logics that you might have in your company. Analytics, your product itself, the website, marketing tools that you have, payment gateways, and puts it together in a nice dashboard that gives you a 360-degree overview about what your customers are actually doing. So you can see health scores, you can track KPIs, you can leave notes, you can see all the communication that you do with this customer in one single place without having to switch in multiple systems. Now, we did also some analysis before we started the company 2 years ago about how is the interest and how does this market develop. And here you see the Google Trends for Customer Success Manager and simply Customer Success. And on the right side, you see the same graph as I showed you before, the number of SaaS companies. And the potential that this has is usually the interest times the market, meaning that you have to have interest and you have to have a growing market in order to have a good potential. A quick introduction to our team. So I'm the founder. I mentioned already, we have two co-founders, and altogether right now, besides the freelancers that we work with, we are 7 guys. Most of them are based here in Tech Hub in Romania, and the co-founders are based in Germany. 50 seconds now. So what we are looking for right now is mainly to grow our company a bit faster than we did so far. We were spending a lot of time in the first 2 years on the product. That was on purpose. So we invested a lot in making the product scalable, making it fast, because it has to deal with a lot of events. And we reached a state where the product is very compatible. And what we look right now is strategic partnerships, introduction to other SaaS companies that eventually might have exactly that problem of churn, and they want to do something about it, or other growth opportunities and partnerships within the reach of the audience. Thank you. 6 seconds.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you. Now it's the time for me to remind you that you have the chance to ask Philip some questions on the Slido. And while doing this, 4 minutes or so, the jury members will have their moments of interacting with Philip.
I have the mic, so I can start.
Yep.
I don't know if it's on.
Yeah, let's put it on.
Thanks for the presentation. You talked a lot about the product and how you focus on developing the product first. Can you also talk a little bit about how you validated the product?
Yes, so before we started it, we had 200 interviews for the target audience. So we had 200 interviews with customer success managers, basically, or head of customer success. So we approached them through LinkedIn, and we had more than 6 weeks, every day interviews with them. We asked them for 10 minutes of their time. We asked them about their pain, if they were using another product. And that, by the way, was also a reason for us to spend more time with the product in the first place before aggressively scaling it up. Because the feedback was when they were using one of our current competitors, that those competitors were slow. It took them many clicks to reach the destination and things like this. So we knew that if we go to enter the market, we have a good chance if the product is really, really fast and really, really nice designed and has a great UX, that this can make a difference. So we had 200 interviews with the target audience. That's also where all the marketing messages came from that you find on the website right now. The same spot?
Yeah. Cool. Let's go on.
Okay.
Congratulations for the product. It's really nice. Now I want to ask you, do you have anybody using it so far?
Yes, so we are still in the low 2 digits range of customers, but that's kind of on purpose because, yeah, as I mentioned, we didn't do any outreach activity in the first 2 years whatsoever. So the only marketing spend we had is on SEO. So we started the blog from, I would say, day 0 almost. We have like 40 articles there right now ranking very well for the keywords that we need. So all the customers that found us so far was through organic traffic or through local, like we had customers from here that were nice enough to start with us like right from the beginning as pilot customers that helped us a lot to learn because they also send events to the platform, stress test the platform, etc.
Do you measure the decrease of the churn from the customers that are using your platform right now?
Yeah, yes. Let's say yes and no, we could do it better. So let's say normally what you could expect is at least a percentage, but it depends a bit, it actually depends a lot on your business model. If you have a low-touch business, high-touch business, what's your customer lifetime value, and how do you actually, the product gives you a lot of abilities like automation, outreach, and so on. And the question is how well you tweak that engine. So, the product itself, it's like a Google Analytics. If you have the numbers and you don't do anything about it, it won't bring you any advantage. So you have to do something about it. But let's say from what we saw so far, it's at least a percentage. And we also did a nice case study with one of our first pilot customers. It would probably take a bit too long to explain that. But with test groups and A/B testing, and we have some more detailed numbers there. If you want to know more about it, maybe we can chat later.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, first of all, thank you for taking care of this churn part. Also in the company that I represent, it's a very important fact. But I want to understand now, and we have outside of any other system, is that we appreciate churn based on history behavior. So you can estimate some way which clients will churn in the next period based on their behavior previously to this. Does your solution also provide this if the client has the necessary numbers for that?
Exactly, yeah. So what we do is, as part of our onboarding, is usually we ask first the client to define their KPIs, and then we look what do the successful clients do different from the ones that churn. And that's where you actually put your KPIs and measurements in place. And then the key point is to trigger in time that you actually see that, like the easiest is decline in usage. Let's say your Netflix abo and you don't watch anymore, you just watch very rarely. And this is kind of an indicator that most likely you're not so very attracted by the offers that they have. So this is the easiest. And then our clients, what they can do, they can set themselves thresholds to get alerted. And then it's kind of, to your question, it's kind of depends how they actually make use of that. So Custify will tell them something that this client is most likely not okay given your definition. But then they need to engage with the client. They need to find out what is the problem and so on. So that's kind of the learning curve also for the clients.
Which are the industries that you are really focused on with your product?
The
industries
it's SaaS
that you consider that your product is the most,
Yes.
and of course where the main revenue sources will come.
Yes. So right now, from a size, it's SMB. Normally north of $1 million revenue in annual and $1 million annual revenue. That's kind of where usually it makes sense to start with investing heavily there. But we also have other examples where they really start much earlier with it. And from industry, it's mostly software companies that have a subscription-based business model. Although now, recently we also talked to people who have a transactional business model, such as platform, where they have transactions. And they still have, even though it's not a subscription, they have also users that frequently come back to the platform and should do a transaction. If they don't do a transaction, they don't generate revenue. So it's kind of similar, and it also works for that part. So let's say mostly for almost anything, even the scooters out there are kind of a subscription business, although you use them on demand, but it's kind of the same, right? You have an app, and Lime could make a campaign to you if you don't ride anymore, or usage goes down, these kind of things. Or cluster their users, empower drivers that have a long distance, or everything like this is also possible to build like segments from your customer base to cluster them into power users.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Philip. And before we are done with this, and before we clap once for Philip, let's take one of the questions for him that can be briefly answered in 30 seconds or up to 1 minute. Let's say that we answer this one. How long does the integration take? Can you go us briefly through this process in 30 seconds? And we end up with Philip's from Custify pitch, and then move on to the next one. Philip, please.
Okay. The integration usually takes like a week, depending on the other, let's say, on the commitment that the customer has. We have examples where it took like 6 or 8 weeks. We have examples like some guys for the tech up here, it took like 2 hours. So it kind of depends on the skill set and the, the company structure. Sometimes we talk to customer success manager who needs a developer and so on, it takes a bit longer, but normally, let's say, on average, a week.